Hello everybody and welcome to the messiest office ever. I've never really made a review before and I've been wanting to do so for a long time, so I decided to kick off my review series by going over one of the greatest video game series of all time, in my opinion, Paper Mario. Now, before I get into the review itself, I'd like to give a brief summary of the history of the first game in the Paper Mario series, Paper Mario. Obviously. As many of you may already know, Paper Mario was originally intended to be a sequel to a little game called Super Mario RPG for the SNES. Nintendo actually got Square Enix, the creators of Final Fantasy, to make it, and the visuals were stunning for Super Nintendo standards. My opinion of the game? It's good, I guess. I don't really get why people love it so much, critics and fans alike. Seriously, sometimes I feel like these gaming sites gave Mario RPG an insanely high score just so that people will shut up about it. Also, Geno being in Super Smash Bros. Makes no logical sense. But I'm not here to review Super Mario RPG, at least not today. This is about Paper Mario. They're originally going to call the game Super Mario RPG 2. However, due to some copyright issues with Square Enix, they decided to make an entirely new game and to call it Paper Mario, due to its unique 2D art style. And that's how we got this god among RPGs. So what makes Paper Mario so great? Well, first of all, the gameplay, of course. Let's start with the battle system. Unlike many other role-playing games, for your basic attacks to work, your basic attacks being your hammer, sunk ability, and all your partner's attacks, you have to time them correctly, meaning that you have to press a specific button at one specific time. These are called action commands. And don't worry, unlike Super Mario RPG, you're told exactly how to perform them correctly, so you should be able to do it with a little practice. There are also certain moves you can obtain via finding badges that have the potential to do a lot more damage or improve the situation in some other way. However, they cost FP, which you will run out of eventually if you don't refill it using an item, heart block, or some other tactic. There are also special moves, which are tactics that are similar to flower moves, but are usually more powerful or effective. You earn one after every chapter and each cost a certain amount of star points to use. Unlike FP, your total amount of star power increases slowly on its own. There are also items which do pretty much whatever, such as the mushroom which heals 5 HP, the fire flower which deals 3 damage to most enemies in battle, and the dizzy dial, which inflicts dizziness, obviously, thus causing the enemy to sometimes miss. Actually, this is a perfect time for me to explain status effects. Status effects happen to you, your partner, or an enemy due to either an item, an attack, or something else. Some are positive, like invisibility, which prevents any possibility of being attacked, while others, like poisoning, which does 1 damage per turn, not so much. Some other options in battle include swapping partners, running away, defending, which gives you 1 defense point for the next turn, focusing to regain extra SP, and just flat out doing nothing. Other than that, it's pretty simple. If your HP drops to 0, you lose. If you defeat all the enemies, you win and get a certain amount of star points. After getting 100 star points, you'll level up, and be able to choose to either increase your total HP or FP by 5, or your BP, badge points, which we'll get to later, by 3. You won't have to worry about your partner dying, as they don't have independent health bars, which may sound good, but it can be annoying. This means that enemies will almost always target you, and when they do attack your partner, he or she could be unable to attack for a short period of time. This all may sound complicated, but after a while you'll get the hang of it, and it's a pretty well-designed system. I do wish your partners had their own health bars though, but luckily they fixed that in the sequel. But of course, no RPG is complete without good overworld gameplay, and that's just where Paper Mario is at its best. Unlike most games of the genre, it tends to focus a lot more on puzzle solving and exploration rather than just combat. I will say that the controls are very smooth on both fronts, so pretty much anyone can get used to them with some practice. On the overworld, Mario has his basic abilities, the jump and hammer, which can be used to hit, switches, or block, as well as get first strikes on enemies for an extra turn in battle. Each partner you get also has its own specific abilities outside of battle, as well as its own unique moveset. Some are really useful for puzzles throughout much of the game, while others do little to nothing after the chapter you find them in. There are 3 major types of areas in the Paper Mario overworld. Towns contain all sorts of buildings, like item shops, badge shops, inns, which will refill your HP, FP, and SP for a certain price, houses, etc. And usually no enemies are present. Outdoor areas are full of enemies, and very few puzzles or peaceful NPCs. Finally, dungeons usually have less enemies to encounter, but far more puzzles, locked doors, and atmosphere. Usually the puzzles are really easy. There's also some emphasis on platforming these dungeons, which is something you almost never find in RPGs. There are numerous items and secrets hidden throughout the Mushroom Kingdom, including badges. Badges require a certain amount of VP to actually have it in use, and each has its own effect. Most of them affect the battle system in some minor way, while others change the overworld system or both. There are also star pieces. which you can sell to some merchants in exchange for helpful stuff, and certain blocks which you can use to level up your partner. You'll also find save blocks which you can use to save your game, heart blocks which fully recover all HP and FP, and just plain old blocks which can contain coins, items, or badges. There are also some blocks that just break. Yay. So yeah, the Mushroom Kingdom in this game is pretty darn fun to explore. The enemy designs are creative, though near the end they kinda got lazy and just made stronger versions of past enemies. You know, like pretty much all RPGs. The level design is top notch, so I guess all I really need to cover is the bosses. The bosses aren't the best in any Mario game, but they certainly get the job done. The Koopa Bros are a great first boss, Toon Koopa is great, Tubba Blubba is okay I guess, General Guy is the best part of Chapter 4 easily, Fire Piranha is cool, I just realized how weird that sounds, Huff and Puff, Crystal King is also great, and so is the final boss, Bowser. Honestly, Huff and Puff and Crystal King are significantly harder than Bowser in my opinion, with Crystal King actually being hard in a fair way I might add. I remember the first time I played through this game, I died numerous times in those bosses, and was extremely nervous to fight Bowser, but by the end of the fight I was like, seriously? That was it? But then again, I always bring like 5 Ultra Shrooms to the final bosses of these games, so that could be it. There were also many mini bosses and optional bosses as well, but I'm not going to go over all of them. I will say though that flower fields can go down in a hole, except a field is an inanimate object, so never mind. So now we've gone over the gameplay of Paper Mario, but what about the story? I know what you're thinking, Bowser kidnaps Princess Peach and Mario has to save her. Well, kind of actually. So Bowser and his minion Kamek go to Star Haven, which is a place where stars live I guess, and steal the Star Rod, which can grant you whatever wish you want. And imprisons the 7 star spirits. Wait a minute, are you seriously telling me that the sanctuary that houses what is probably the last thing that should ever fall into evil's hands doesn't even have a security system? How has this not happened before? And if it did, then shouldn't you have learned your lesson, or is this kingdom really that dependent on Mario? Anyways, Princess Peach invites Mario to her castle for a ceremony because the plot demands it. He comes, and surprise, Bowser attacks. It is revealed that Bowser has been building a fortress underneath the castle for what was probably a long time, and it lifts them all into the sky. I don't see how they managed to silently craft an entire fortress without anyone noticing, but okay. So Mario fights Bowser, but alas, he has used the Star Rod to make him invincible, and our hero falls out the window. Bowser, no. Let me show you how a smart villain would handle the situation, or just anybody with a few brain cells. I wish Mario was dead. I wish the Star Spirits were dead. I wish for a sandwich. Oh. Then some stuff I don't want to spoil happens, and Mario finds out that he has to save all 7 Star Spirits in order to counter this Star Rod's power. So yeah, the story is nothing special, but compared to most other games in the series, it's freaking gone with a win. The story is separated into 8 chapters and 1 prologue. The prologue sets up the story and teaches the gameplay. In each of the first 7 chapters you get a Star Spirit, and in chapter 8 you go to raid Bowser's fortress. Each chapter is pretty much the same. You explore the land, you get 1 or 2 partners, complete the dungeon, beat the boss, and obtain the telemetric data, Star Spirit. It's the same structure each time, but luckily each chapter is unique. It never feels just like the previous chapter with a new coat of paint. It's probably due to the diversity of the locations and bosses, the different characters, or maybe it's something else. I do have one major complaint though, one that once again was fixed in the sequel. The partners have little to no personality, except for maybe Goombario. They never show more than 1 emotion during the entire game. That's no exaggeration. They serve no purpose other than to help you, and it sucks. Luckily, in the 1000-Year Door, the partners' personalities were infinitely more complex. However, in the 3rd game, Super Paper Mario, all of the partners, except for Tippy of course, had even less of a personality. In fact, I don't even think they talk to you after you get them. In a Sticker Star, your one partner has a personality, but a totally unlikable one. What, did they just get lazy after the 2nd game? That would explain a lot. Anyways, I'm pretty much done here, so let's wrap this up, shall we? It's colorful, it's fun, it's unique, it's brilliant. That's why my final rating for this game is a 9.5 out of 10. Maybe be coming from here, like there, the middle, I don't know. Oh. Okay, maybe I'm being a bit too nice, but honestly I can't find that many major complaints about it, other than the bland partners who don't have health bars and the occasional poorly designed area. The gameplay is top notch, the story is passable, the music is awesome, the bosses are great for the most part, the atmosphere is good, it actually does one thing I think the 1000-Year Door didn't improve upon. It feels like a children's storybook, which is obviously what they were going for. The first 2 sequels had plots that were far more complex, and the newest was just lazy. Many criticized the game for being too easy, but that was kind of the intention. I mean, it's meant for anyone to be able to pick up and play, not just hardcore Castlevania speedrunners. Honestly, this is a game that I think any RPG maker should play, just to show that it can be done in a really creative way. I'm Pythster, and in the next episode, we'll be reviewing my favorite video game of all time, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. I'll see you guys there.